Hey everybody, welcome to your tech timeline for the first week in October, October 6th, 2013. This, of course, is the hit news show where I tell you everything that you might have missed throughout the week in the worlds of tech and gaming. First, I want to kick things off with Sunday's story of Ikea beginning to sell solar panels. Now, they are selling for an equivalent of 9,200 United States dollars. And one of the big problems, I think this is an exciting story. Basically, there's not much to it other than the fact that they're being sold, but I think that's actually a pretty big deal. Because I've always been really into solar energy and alternative energy sources because it's a very exciting business. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the field. But one of the big problems with doing the solar panels and everything like that is that it took too long for the end consumer to see profits or actually see returns on that. One of the cool things about it is that solar panels on your house or using them will actually cause your meter to run backwards essentially because you are feeding power back into the grid, meaning that you are getting money back instead of paying for an electric bill. But it would take way too long to see those returns, and in the interim, solar shingles, the other big, thing to come out from this, would crack and break. They only had like a life of like 10 years, and that was depending on where you lived, the climate, the weather, everything like that. And it took longer than that to see the return on your investment, meaning that you were actually just sinking more and more money into solar power in your house. But these selling for $9,200 also come with an estimated return after 7 years, meaning that they're starting to shorten that span and making solar energy a much more viable option for us in the future. If this trend continues in several years, it might be cost feasible or even make more sense to do the investment and get solar shingles or something like that, and start seeing that return in 5 years, and then everything after that is just gravy, just money, more income actually that you'll be seeing coming into your property. Monday, I found out that the iPhone 5S is suffering from a case of the bends. This is a very weird story. It's something that I've never heard of before, but apparently the iPhone 5 had the same problem. Pictures and reports started coming out of China for the 5 saying that the phone was bending. You're going to see pictures up here of that. It's very weird. It's a very weird look to it. And I mean, they think it's from the casing because they're using different components in it in the 5 and the 5S than they did previously. It's that aluminum that they're using now. And they just seem to have bends, but it's not a widespread issue. It's not something that a lot of people, I don't think, heard of at the advent of the 5. So I definitely wanted to report on this and kind of get it out there so that more people were aware that this is an issue and kind of were just on the lookout for it. Now, there's no word yet as to where these particular pictures came from, if they were out of China, because if it's just a specific region that this keeps happening to, that's very odd as well. But it is just a story I wanted to cover because it's something I think you should be aware of if you picked up a 5S or if you're a 5 owner. Because I kind of want to hear from you guys. Have you heard of this before? Was I just my head under a rock? I didn't pick up a 5, so maybe I wasn't as in tune with this kind of story. But it is really weird. It is a weaker metal, the aluminum, so maybe that has something to do with it. But if it's just happening in one region, I think that's very, very strange. Tuesday, we saw the Emperor 1510 Medical Assessment Chair. I forgot what day I was about to report on. It's made by Sharp, and it was unveiled at CEATEC 2013. It is a chair that is designed to not really take the place of regular doctor's visits, but kind of be a supplemental inclusion to those things. It's going to take vital signs such as blood pressure and pulse and everything like that, but it's kind of a full body scan type of technology, not unlike if anybody played Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward. They have kind of a similar thing that they use in there, and that was kind of a science fiction thing, but once again we're reaching a point where science fiction is just becoming science. This is a really cool idea. The chair has actually got a really cool build looking to it. It's got monitors up at the top so you can watch in real time as your different vital signs and things are cataloged and stored in cloud storage, presumably so that your practicing physician or something like that will have access to those at a later date. This is something that is going to be really good. I think it's pretty much just marketed at a very select group of people that have to have constant monitoring and things like that for right now. But if this continues to evolve, then it's not unheard of that we'll be able to scan for even more things in the future, such as cancer and stuff like that, any abnormality in the body. Because if it was able to just scan and pick up any kind of change from what it has stored as your regular vital signs, your regular body makeup or chemical makeup, then that would allow us to kind of scan for any kind of abnormality. So you've got cancer and a bunch of other diseases, so, you know, anything that's kind of coming up. If you had diabetes, it could probably scan for, you know, your blood sugar and things like that. So I don't understand too much of the science behind it or how it's doing it all inclusively, because it pretty much scans all at once. But it's a very exciting thing, and I think it's a field that we really want to pay attention to, because there hasn't really been a breakthrough like this in a very long time. We've never really seen anything like this coming out. So just having this technology available now, I think, will really produce some huge advancements in the future. Wednesday, the Russian government said that it is going to start creating patriotic games. Now, this is kind of a program that they're going to start coming out with, where they're paying for patriotic games to be made, they're making them themselves. It's kind of weird. It's really weird. I assume that they're all just going to be shirtless horseback riding simulations. I don't know. I mean, that's just my submission. That's not a quote from them. They also have classically not liked the portrayal of Russian soldiers in previous games, so I think they're going to be really cracking down on games coming into the country that kind of portray them in a light that they don't like. But in all seriousness, it kind of sounds like they're going for making hyper-realistic games that depict Russian soldiers in positive lights. So they were talking about kind of aerial maneuvers thing from the World War, and that was kind of where they were working on it at the time of reading this story. But I'm not really sure what exactly they want to get into, but it sounds like it's just going to be those hyper-realistic military shooters, something like that, with a little bit of propaganda, patriotic propaganda spliced in. That doesn't necessarily mean that these are going to be bad games. I mean, if they go for hyper-realism and actually good gameplay, that could be interesting to check out and kind of get a look at how Russia views its own military and its own history. I don't think anybody really looks to video games as a historical context. I don't think anybody's picking up Assassin's Creed and being like, so that's how the revolution happened, of course. But it is kind of weird. So it is kind of weird to see like a propaganda slant to video games. But you know, they are targeted at youth and things like that. So I kind of see where they're coming from. They want to get their message across. It's weird. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of interesting. But it is something that I will personally be keeping an eye on to see what route they take. Because if it is just kind of like an Arma game or like a bunch of different points of articulation mixed in with, you know, historical fact, actual stories, I think that actually could be pretty cool. Thursday, Disney came out with something really interesting. It was kind of like a demo reel for 3D tactile feedback technology. Now, this is based on a ton of science that I don't understand. But essentially, what's going to happen is you'll be able to feel what is appearing on the screen. Then I've released a video. There's some demo pictures out there depicting the difference between what you're seeing on the screen and what you'd be able to feel. And this is going to take shapes and textures and things like that and allow you to actually map them out and feel them as they move across the screen. This is really weird. This is crazy, but I'm really excited for this because, again, I'm going to continually compare stuff like this to the Oculus Rift and bring it around into the Oculus Rift. The farther down the rabbit hole we go with this kind of tactile feedback and these kind of virtual reality things, I think they start meshing together to make essentially 5, maybe even sooner than that, but 5-10 years down the line, I think we're really going to start seeing really all-inclusive kind of mediums or takes on this, which I think is very exciting. I think it's going to be a really cool way to kind of advance gaming, but not just that, advance all sorts of different mediums. Movies, since we have tablets and stuff like that, there's been different things in the media about allowing kids to bring tablets to movie theaters to interact with the movies. Disney was kind of pioneering that as well. So having this kind of technology where you can feel and get tactile feedback from what you're interacting with, I think is a huge step forward in just media in general. And I think it's really exciting and something to look forward to, because I think this is going to maybe not right now is a huge deal and isn't going to affect tons of people right now. But I think if this goes mainstream, it could be really cool. It could be integrated in a lot of different and creative ways around the house and different things like that. Friday, we saw Toyota anti-collision systems announcement. Now, this is something that Toyota is going to be working on, hopefully for release in 2015. And it's a set of advanced sensors placed around the car that are designed to pick up on any kind of obstacle that is in your path, be it a pedestrian or a car, a tree falling, anything like that. It's supposed to be kind of an all-inclusive way to see different obstacles that are in front of your car or around your car that you might not be able to notice and react in a quick enough way to avoid a collision. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to engage your brakes and even steer the car away from the obstruction, plotting a trajectory that will lead you to safety. Now, this, of course, is all going to take place after an alarm has sounded that is going to hopefully alert the driver in time for them to act on their own. But the system will enable itself and will take over if the driver does not respond to those alerts or those alarms in time. Saturday, Google announced that it was going to start selling your good word in the form of ads. Now, they're calling this shared endorsement. It's something that I'm not really keen on, but I'm not going to go all conspiracy theory on you. I'm just saying that as someone who creates things on YouTube, since that is a Google property, and this is going to affect YouTube, Google+, it's probably going to reach out into other things Google, controls, and it's just kind of weird to see this because as a creator, my word is kind of my brand, to be honest with you, not to say anything because it's not a huge channel that I have, but still, I'm not sure that I want my word to kind of be plastered all over different sites that I don't have control over, just being used as ads. And also, to a certain extent, it's not like there will be any kind of monetization coming back to YouTubers or people using Google Plus from this. It's just kind of like, hey, your friends liked this, you should too. I don't know about this. You can opt out of it though. So like I said, I don't want to start ringing the alarms or anything. We're going to find out more about it on November 11th when it actually launches. We're going to find out if opting out really does get you out of this program after November 11th or not. There's a lot of different things that I think are going to be going on during that changeover, but it's something that I wanted to report on because I think you need to be aware of it. Google Plus is so integrated now. Like a couple months ago, I could have been like, it's going to be for Google Plus, who cares? But Google is almost forcing you to be involved in Google Plus. Just by watching this video, you've probably been saddled with a Google Plus account, and now your comments and everything are tied to it as well. A lot of good advances are coming from that. I think Google's trying to crack down on some of the poor conduct that sometimes takes place in the comment section of YouTube, and by linking that to a social network, I think it makes it a little less likely for the anonymous nature of those comments to allow people to really go to town on each other and kind of get in those screaming matches. That's good. But through that integration, they've kind of made this a real thing and a real worry to me because, like I said, it's just not something that I am a fan of. I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with Google having that much control over what I've said. So there you go, you guys. It was a really jam-packed week, action-packed week. I hope you enjoyed the news. As always, you're going to have links to every single story down below in the description, so please check those out for sure. Also, I beg you to please share this video however you can. It really, really helps out the channel. The more views this particular show gets, the bigger and better I'll be able to make it in the future. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to check this video out and share it with anyone who might like it as well. And as always, if you have tips for next week's stories, be sure to drop me a line in the comment section down below, or on private message on YouTube, Twitter, anything that you can slap Technovolver into, you can drop me a line and I will be sure to cover that story on next week's episode. But even if you don't do any of that, I want to thank you for watching this particular episode, so thank you ever so kindly, and I will see you in the future.